Okay, right. So a very good morning, guys. Can you let me know if y'all can hear me and see a screen? Yeah, all good. Right. So we're moving into the final focus area that we have. So your entire syllabus was broken into 35 focus areas. We've done 34 of it. Today we're going into the last one. So that is the last part of unit number 11 and 12. Again, we are only focusing on the MCQs because the MCQs itself are not that hard. It's pretty direct. You will realize it once you all do the questions. There will be a few current context questions from here and there, but that will most likely be relevant for that year. So usually a topic that has been, discussed a lot that year can also show up. But apart from that, it's very direct theory questions that they actually ask. Okay, so we'll get started with this, the last focus area. Focus area 35. Okay, so coming into unit number 11 and 12, economic growth and development. So in this, the last week, or not last week, actually, last Monday, 2 days ago, we talked about Lamai, the subtopics on economic growth, development. We talked about income distribution, all of that we spoke of. So today, what we are going to focus on is any questions that comes from the area of poverty, labor force, and the population related stuff, and also any current issues as well. So I'll start with the 2011 A-level question number 47. Right. So starting with the question, they're saying the unemployment rate is the number of people unemployed as a percentage of what? How do you find your unemployment rate? Which one is your answer? Your unemployment rate is number of people unemployed as a percentage of your, out of your what? Out of your total population, out of your working age population, or out of your labor force? Your unemployment rate, how do you calculate unemployment rate? Unemployment rate is number of people unemployed over your what into 100, over your labor force into 100. So out of your labor force, how many people are actually unemployed? That is what you call them your unemployment rate. So who is your labor force? Labor force is not your working age population. Labor force is the set of people who are what? Who are willing and able to work. Some of them might actually have jobs. They are the employed people. Some of them might actually not have jobs. So then in this question, which one? Unemployment rate is the number of people unemployed as a percentage of your population minus students. Number of people who are employed, number of people employed and looking for employment. That is your answer, right? Now, from your labor force, some people are employed, some people are looking for employment. They are called unemployed. So employed plus unemployed together is what you get your labor force. So your unemployed as a percentage of your labor force is your unemployment rate. So answer there is number 3. Then 2011 A-levels question number 48. They're asking you, what are the 3 main deprivations reflected in the multidimensional poverty index? So the 3 main dimensions here is the same as the dimensions in the human development index. So human development index also, you have 3 main, you look at health, or in other words, longevity, education, and standard of living. So here also in the multidimensional poverty index also, you look at the same 3 dimensions, but the indicators are different. Now remember, in the human development index, how did you look at health? You looked at life expectancy at birth. How many years do people live? But in the multidimensional poverty index, how do you look at health? You look at nutrition, right? Are people getting the proper nutritious food that they have to? And child mortality. Child mortality is like, out of the children that are born, how many children die before the age of 1? So usually we give this lamai out of 1,000 children. Now, if somewhere in your paper, if you see child mortality rate is 25, what does that mean? Out of 1,000 children, 25 children die before the age of 25. That's what you call mortality. Right? So you have child mortality, you have sometimes even the for pregnant mothers, there is a mortality rate that they calculate out of the mothers who are giving birth, how many actually die. So all of that is what you look at for health, lamai, nutrition and child mortality in the multidimensional poverty index. Then same way, how do you look at education here? To look at education, lamai, you look at the years of schooling and school attendance. Sometimes some students are registered for school, but they don't attend school. Why? Because their parents can't afford to, let's say, buy a textbook for them, or let's say buy some shoes for them, right? Or maybe the parents also need them to help them with the small children, to help them with their whatever, let's say, agricultural work that they're doing. So attendance is what they look at it. And then standard of living, they look at whether you have cooking fuel, do you have a proper sanitation facilities, do you have clean drinking water, electricity, housing, what type of assets do you have? So all of that, they look at that. So those are the indicators that you look at. And then you have different measures, Lama. You have the poverty headcount ratio. We'll talk about that there. And also there's something called intensity of poverty. That is not just how many people are in poverty, how intense is the poverty in your country. But don't have to worry too much about this multidimensional poverty index, Lama. Not a question that they have asked recently. It's ideally not a big part of your syllabus. But here they are not asking for all of this. What they're asking is the three main dimensions that are there. The three main dimensions are, Lama, again, health, education, and the standard of living. So that is answer number 1 for question 48. Done. Then we move to the next one. Question number 50. The official poverty line on Sri Lanka is based on what? What is this official poverty line, Laman? Official poverty line is the minimum amount of money, right? The minimum amount of money that one person should have in order to live for a month. That is to cover their basic food requirements, to get that. Remember, for a day, a person needs 2030 kilocalories to get that food requirement, to get that 2030 kilocalories, and your basic non-food requirements. At least, for example, for you to have a kerosene stove to cook your food, you at least have an oil lamp for light. To get that basic, the amount of money you need is what you call your official poverty line. Now, this official poverty line number changes every month, because when the prices of goods and services change, this number also tends to change. So how much is the official poverty line right now, Laman? Roughly around, because every month it changes, and you can't have an exact number always. So every month based on inflation, it changes. So roughly, the official poverty line right now, Lama, is between that 16,000 to 17,000 kind of range. Right? It's somewhere there. So they won't ask you exactly how much it is, don't worry. So right now it's at around that 16 to 17,000 kind of thing. So what does that mean? So this is the minimum that one person needs in order to live, satisfy their basic needs. So then on your end, Lama, just calculate and see if this is for one person. If there is a family of 4 people, that means let's take 16,000. 16,000 into 4 kiyanne, that is a 30 to 64,000. So a family of 4 minimum needs 64,000. This is to satisfy your basic needs, not to have a luxury life and all of that. So just think, in Sri Lanka, how many families must be earning less than 64,000 a month. So there are issues like that. But now there is also, now when you're broadly, now I work with some of these numbers as well for office work. Now, this is where the politicians come and talk a lot, right? They say, look here, our poverty line is this much, right? Economy is growing, but so many are in poverty. I agree, right? There could be official statistics will show so many in poverty. But in reality, now, there was a World Bank report that came out, said around 30% of Sri Lankans are in poverty. So 30% of Sri Lankans in poverty, and out of our 21 million, how many? Close to around 6 million, 7 million people are in poverty here. But poverty means you can't even satisfy your basic needs. The official statistics say that, but I don't think that is actually correct. Because now, if you really think in Sri Lanka, if that many people are in poverty, I don't think the country will be running like this, Lamai. If 6 million, 7 million people are in poverty, people will be on the roads, they will be, protesting, they will be, this thing. Because you can't I'm not saying that there is no poverty, there is poverty, Lamai. But what happens is, even in these poverty surveys, how you collect the data. Now, did you all have someone coming to your house and collecting the data? Yes, recently, at least in the last 1 year, someone came to your house and they asked you, do you have electricity, how many vehicles do you have, do you have a cooking this one, do you have a fridge, how many people in your family? And that is for that survey, Lamai. Now that survey doesn't happen every year because it's not easy to do it every year, no? So last time they had done the surveys in 2019, then after with COVID and crisis they have not been able to do it, and now again in 2025 they are doing it. Ideally, the survey happens. There was a survey in 2012-13. There was a survey in 2016, then 2019. So usually every around 2-3 years, they have done the survey. But with COVID, then everything happening, now only they're doing the survey again. But now in that survey, now you've seen how they do the survey. No? They come and they ask you questions. Now, to what extent will you actually give them my real information? Now, let's say, for example, you're someone who is earning, let's say you have a lot of side businesses, this and that, and all of it. Let's say you're someone who is earning 1 million. If someone asks you how much are you earning, are you going to say 1 million? You will say a bit of a lesser number, right? You might not give a very low number. You'll say, shape. That is how Sri Lankans are. Now, if you go and ask a Sri Lankan, how is business, right? Or let's say you ask a small shop, let's say in Petahari, Koyari small shop, he will never say business is good. No. Anyone you ask, they will say, shapes, podda amaruwen yanawa me dawaswala. Right? That's that attitude that Sri Lankans bring. No? So whenever there is a survey, the actual data is not reported at times. And even now, if you take, let's say, in rural areas, their income might be low, but actually they are not in poverty because they cultivate their own thing. They have their own cow who gives them milk. They have their own chicken who gives them egg, right? They have, let's say, their own agricultural lands that gives them the food. They might not actually earn money. So officially they are in poverty. Officially they are not reaching this 16,000 a month per person level. They are in poverty. But that doesn't mean they are starving. I mean, they have their own resources. They have all of that. So that is how that goes. So you need to think beyond if you ever become an economist or someone, I mean, think beyond just the data that is reported. Now, the data that is reported itself might not always be accurate. Now, even when you talk of, let's say, now I have a big problem with this recent GDP data. How much was Sri Lanka's economic growth rate like 2025? 2025 quarter 2 data came out around 1 or 2 weeks ago. We grew by how much? In 2024, full year growth was 5%. 25 quarter 2, the recent one that came. It was a 4.9, no? If I'm not mistaken. It was a 4.9%. But for me personally, this number could have been much higher. Right? One reason that they showed in this 4.9, they showed that the agriculture sector didn't perform well. Why the agriculture sector didn't perform well? Now, this is real GDP growth. They showed a very high level of a deflator. Nominal GDP grew, but prices grew even more. But that is not the case. Sri Lanka has been having deflation all this in the second quarter. It is very unlikely that the agriculture prices would have actually increased. So there is a bit of an issue, Lamai. The actual number I felt could have been much higher than definitely 5-6%. But there are these statistical issues that go into, calculating these numbers and all of it. So even when you, as an economist, when you make decisions, Lama, you will not just look at the number alone and make a decision. You will, make that decision based on a lot of broad things. Right. So that's the official poverty line. Remember, that is the minimum income that you need in order to live. Okay. If you're earning below this, then you are in poverty. The official poverty line on Sri Lanka is based on what? The per capita food expenditure, earnings of US dollars 1.25 per day, average per capita calorie requirement, average non-food expenditure, the real per capita food and non-food expenditure. How is this 16,000 coming, Lama? Is it just your food? Not just your food. It is for your food and also for your non-food to get your basic food requirements and your basic non-food to at least get some kerosene, to have an oil lamp. All of that comes in there. So that is number 5. Okay, that's 2011, question 50. So that's a easy one. We've had around 3 questions, should be manageable. One more thing, I think I've told you all this before as well. Since it's the last class, I'll let you know. Maybe after A levels, if y'all are into your career side of it is into, let's say, finance, becoming an analyst, let's say, investment banker, more econ side of things, if that is the kind of career. Now, most of y'all are after levels, you all will go into different fields. Some of y'all into, let's say, marketing, some of y'all into, let's say, HR, some of y'all into accounting, some into the finance and econ side of things. So you have different things that you would love to do. So something that can definitely help if you're more into that finance, econ, analyst, that kind of thing is the firm that I work. I would have told you all this before. We're coming up with a new practical econ course, because what we've realized is even when we hire a lot of people after A levels or even people undergraduates at university, they know a lot of theory, right? Because in A levels, you learn a lot of theory. In university, you learn a lot of theory. But in reality, how it works, right? In reality, how it works is a little different. So to bridge that kind of gap, to help you get into that corporate world and actually perform well, we're coming up with kind of a course. It's an online course, like how you have this Coursera, Udemy kind of courses. So it's an online thing. You will get a certificate as well. It will be pre-recorded. There will be some assessments. It's more into practically learning how the macroeconomy works. So it can definitely be important if you're going into that finance, econ side of fields. And if you also are looking at Lamai, managing like your own money. Maybe right now you might not be having a lot of your own money, but let's say, for example, understanding how interest rates work. So let's say now if you have money, okay, where do you put those money, right? Is it going into the treasury bills? Are you going to put it into, let's say, equity? Let's say that is the shares and all of it. It's not a share market course, but to understand how macroeconomic works. Right now, for example, why did during, let's say, COVID and all, how did the share market do pretty well? Right? What are the reasons behind that? So you should know fundamentally, okay, when a situation like this comes, okay, money should go over here. So if you're also managing your own money, that can also help. But right now you might not have a lot of your own money, right? Because you don't have that much of savings, no. But that understanding can definitely help. You get a certificate as well. And the good thing is, Lamai, the firm that I work is called Frontier Research. Right? So our firm, Lamai, we have around 100, close to 100 clients, and most of our clients, Lamai, are these big firms in Sri Lanka. So what we do to our clients is we go and do boardroom presentations, we do reports for them, right? We talk about the whole macroeconomic thing that is happening around. The good side of that is there is a very good reputed name that Frontier has in the corporate world. Now, y'all might not know Frontier Research because y'all don't benefit from that. No? And the only place you would have heard is maybe a little bit from me. So general public, now even my mother might not know what Frontier Research is. But the corporate world, the finance guys, the ones into, all of that, they pretty well know us. So even, let's say, having that in your CV, let's say you having a certificate and, saying that you did a course like this at Frontier Research can definitely help. Maybe at one point, let's say if you're going into an internship into those finance kind of firms, can definitely be an advantage. So after A levels, if you're free, if you have nothing to do, yes, definitely take a break, but you can definitely get into it. The price of it and all is not really finalized yet. I will check with the institute. I will be doing a part of it. I will not be teaching the whole thing. The whole team of my firm will be doing it. I will be doing a part of it as well. It will most likely start somewhere around in Jan. I don't think it will be limited. Anyone can join. It'll be self-paced. So you will have pre-recorded videos. It'll be like a Coursera, Udemy kind of a thing. So you can, watch the videos on your own. There will be a little bit of an assessment kind of a thing. It is designed in a way that it's like a 3-month course, not a very long one, not a very short one. It will take around 3 months. But if you, it's like this. Now, my class recordings, if you want, you can finish all of it soon also. No? But, it will take this. You don't need a lot of econ knowledge. It's econ in practice. There will be a platform for any questions, doubts, and all also that you have. There could be a few live sessions here and there that also will most likely happen online, and you all will get access to certain different things. So that can be something interesting if you're interested in. Now, don't just do it now because I'm telling you to. I always tell you all that. Do something if you like it. Do something if you think that can be beneficial for you. Now, even in all these classes, Lama, you will have Sima coming and talking. You'll have different people coming and talking. Just because someone says, Lama, ek karanna onne hai. Just because I'm telling there is a course like this, you don't have to do it. If you think that is something that you find interesting, that is something that will help you with your life, another consider. අර නිකන් කියන පාලියට කරන්න ඕනේ නෑ ඔයා. I just have that in mind because remember, that is your learning and all of that. So I will not be doing the entire thing. Like maybe let's say there is 30 hours of content. Maybe let's say I might do, let's say around 20% of it. So not the whole thing. There are much more senior people, much more experienced people in our firm who will give you different things that I might also not know. So it will be very interesting. I also want to do it for myself itself, just to know, because the good thing about our firm is different people know different things now. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to put all of that together, so that can be very helpful. So once registrations are all open, that will most likely happen next year, Jan Tamai. So after A levels, if you all are listening, I'll pass the message. I might be able to get my 25 students a bit of a discount from like a small call, like an introductory offer. I'll try to get something for y'all. We'll see. No promise, but I will try to speak to the management and try to get something for you. Okay, then that's 2011. Okay, go in 2012. 2012 A levels question 45. Some demographic data for a country are given below. They've given you the population, labor force, employed, unemployed. They're asking you, Lamai, for the labor force participation rate. Okay. Let me just quickly go through, Lamai, how does a country's this labor force, all of that work? Listen very carefully. Only now I'll be doing this. Okay. So remember this. So I'll give you this with a practical example. Listen carefully. If you understand this logical, Lamai, all the calculations are easy. So if you take a country's population, right? How much is Sri Lanka's population, Lamai? Roughly around that 21, 22 million. Right? So population, let's say Sri Lanka has 22 million. From this 22 million people, Lamai, are everyone in the working age? Can everyone work from this 22? No. There are small children. There are retired old people. So from your population, listen carefully. If you minus the non-working age population, that is whom, Lamai? That is the children. Ideally, you can take less than 14 years, and you have the old people. Now, so the retired people, let's say above 60 years. So let's say there are 2 million children, and let's say 2 million old people. So then from this 22 million, if I remove this 2 million children and 2 million old people, how much do I get? I get 18 million. This 18 million is called whom, Lamai? Who is this 18 million? From your population, if you minus the non-working age people, you get your working age population. So this is what you call your working age population. Now, even y'all, Lama, y'all are also in the working age population. So anyone ideally above 15 is in the working age. But Lama, from this working age population, is everyone willing to work? Is everyone willing to go and find a job and work? For example, think of you. Are you going to willing to work right now? No, right now you want to study. You're a full-time student. Let's say if your mother is a housewife, is she willing to work? Hmm. So from this working age also, there are people, Lamai, who are not willing to work. So if you minus them, minus the, for example, full-time students, okay, full-time students. If you minus the housewives, if you minus these people who are self-employed, they are doing that, they don't want to go and work anywhere, no? They just want to do that thing. So if you minus all these kind of people, then whom do you get? Let's say you minus 2 million, 2 million, 2 million. So now you get the people in the working age who are actually willing to work. So that is called the what? That is called the labor force of your country. So labor force, another name for this is Lamai, your economically active population. What population? Economically active. These are the people who are actually willing to work. These people are the ones, Lama, we call economically inactive. Economically. This is the economically inactive population, the full-time students, housewives, those people. So from your working age, if you remove the people who are not willing to work, the economically inactive, you get your economically active population, your labor force. Now from this labor force, Sri Lanka actually has a labor force of around 8 million. Okay. So from this labor force, does everyone have a job? Now, labor force is the people who are willing to work. Does everyone have a job, Lama? From this 12 million? No, no. Some people have a job. Some people are looking for a job. Looking for a job, they are unemployed. So from this labor force, Lamai, a part of them will be employed. Let's say from this 12 million, 9 million are employed. And then let's say there is a 3 million who are unemployed. So that is how, Lamai, your story is broken down. So you basically get three kind of calculations. One calculation that you get is, Lamai, your labor force participation rate. To calculate what? Your labor force participation rate. What is labor force participation rate? That is from your working age population. Remember, we had MCQ. From your working age, sorry, that was unemployment, sorry. From your working age population, how many are actually willing to participate in the labor force? So I have a working age population of 18 million. From that, how many are in the labor force is what you call my labor force participation rate. So if you take this example, it will be Lamai, we have 18 million in the working age. From that 12 million now in the labor force, how much is my labor force participation rate? So economically active can be people who are willing to work. So from the people who are willing to work, not everyone will actually have work. Now, for example, sometimes now after A levels, you're willing to find a job. You're economically active. You're willing to find a job. You're willing to go and work, but you might not actually have. So unemployed will also be a part of your labor force. 66.7%. That is your labor force participation. Then another question they can ask you is, Lamai, for your employment or unemployment rate. We'll say unemployment rate. How do you calculate, Lamai, your unemployment rate? Unemployment rate is out of your labor force, out of those who are willing to work, how many don't have jobs? So from my labor force, I have a labor force of 12 million. From this 12 million, how many actually don't have jobs? So we have a labor force of 12 million. Unemployed is 3 million. How much is my unemployment rate? That is a 25%. Always remember what you take as the denominator. Some people for working age labor force participation rate, you take population as denominator. Wrong. For unemployment rate, you take something else as the denominator. So unemployment rate is from your labor force, how many are unemployed. Working age labor force participation rate is from your working age, how many are in the labor force. So have those in mind. Then you also have the final one, your employment rate. So employment rate and unemployment rate lamai has to add up to 100. So this is your number of people employed over your labor force into 100. So number of people employed are 9, labor force is 12 into 100, you get 75. So unemployment plus employment rate together is 100%. And number of people unemployed plus number of people employed is your labor force. How do you get employment and unemployment? That they have to give you in the question. So from this 12, let's say 9 million are employed, 3 million are unemployed. Sometimes in your paper, they don't give you labor force. So you should know labor force is the addition of this 9 and 3, the employed and the unemployed. So just remember this overall story. We will use this a lot for our calculations in the next set of questions. Okay, so just have this in mind. You can take a screenshot if you want. Then with this in mind, we'll now go to our previous question. So our question 2012-45, they're asking us, some demographic data is given below. Based on this, the labor force participation rate. Can you all first tell me, Lamai, how do I calculate my labor force participation rate? What is the equation? That is, out of my working age population, how many are participating in the labor force? That's how you calculate. So then we look at the information. They have given population in the working age, number in the labor force, employed, unemployed. So here directly information is given. Working age population, they have given me 50. Okay. So from this 50 people, how many are in the labor force? 30. So from this 50, 30 are in the labor force. That means as a percentage, how many are there? What is your labor force participation rate? 30 out of 50, that is a 60% are willing to participate in the labor. So that is your answer. These are very easy, direct questions. This labor calculation has to be a free mark in your paper. Okay? You will see it when you do the other ones. Then, if you're doing a job, should we find something that? Yes, definitely. So also after A-levels, if you are looking for internships and all of it, look for an internship at a good reputed firm. Reputed, it doesn't have to be like a very big firm. A good firm, not like, for example, not like a BPO or like a call center. You will get paid more. Maybe if you have a really big financial issue, then that is justifiable. But if not for it, look for a reputed good firm where you can learn something. Now, when I say reputed good firm, it doesn't have to be a very big firm also. You don't have to get these multinational firms on that. Even a small, a good firm. Ideally, the whole point of your first job is not to earn, but for you to learn stuff, for you to learn and, get experience of this whole corporate world, how it actually works in real life. That is what you're trying to do. Not to earn money in your first job. In your first job, you will not earn a lot of money. But that learning you get can be a lot helpful. So it can be anything. It can even be, for example, a marketing related job. Maybe your job is to, call people and, get something done. Right? But at least developing those skills helps them. Right. So 2012, internships, you all can apply after A-level. So the legal age for internships in Sri Lanka is anything above 15. So anyone above 15 can apply. Internships can actually work. Now, in my firm, we had certain students, now remember for edXL A-levels. So edXL A-levels, after they have their A-levels broken into two, they have this thing called A2, AS and A2. AS is like the first year of A-levels. Then they have like a 3 months break. And then they have A2. So even in that 3 months break between A-levels, there are students who actually come and do internships. So we've had a few summer interns at our office from Elizabeth Moya. So their thinking and all is very different from yours, how they work and how these are the posh, rich kids out there. But that will be the type of competition that you will have. Websites and all to find jobs. There are websites, but again, be very careful, Lamai. Don't get caught to all these scams. There are so much of scams also that will say, work from her home and earn 5,000 rupees a day, this and that. Those are all 100% scams. Be very careful. Okay. Dependency ratio in Sri Lanka. How do you find dependency ratio? Dependency ratio is, Lamai, This, if you go back here, remember we talked about a working age and a non-working age. So this children and the old people, these people are called your dependents. Now the small children and the old retired, let's say above 60, they depend on whom? These are called your dependents. Whom do they depend on? They depend on the working age level. So according to my question, my numbers here, there are 4 million dependents who depend on this 18 million working age population. So how do you calculate your dependency ratio? My dependency ratio is number of dependents. Dependents means who? Old and small children over your working age population. So ideally, the dependents are whom you call your non-working age. So your non-working age population over your working age population into 100. That's your dependency. Retired people will come under non-working age. If they're retired, they will put them there. Okay, then where is this? Number of children to adults? No, that is not the dependency. Percentage of employed to unemployed? No. Non-working age to working age? Yes. So the ratio of your non-working age people to your working age people. That is your dependency ratio. Okay, done. Then study abroad scholars, I'm not very sure, but there will be different institutes. There was a place that actually wanted to come and talk to you all in my final seminar as well. I'm not very sure if they would confirm. But they are an institute that sends students to Australia. They are specialized there. We'll see. If I can, I'll get some money. Okay, and then 2012, there is another question saying BRICS. Now, BRICS is kind of a trading block. I put a small picture here as well, just to teach you how it works. So initially you had this thing called BRIC. Like you had the founding members in 2009, China, Brazil, Russia, and India. And then in 2010, South Africa also got added. So then you had China, Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa. That's how it became BRICS, how the S got added. Then after that, Lamai, it was kind of stable at that point. And then later on, little by little, Lamai, they accepted new people into this trading bloc. So then the UAE joined, Egypt joined, Iran joined, Ethiopia joined. And the latest member that you have in 2025 is Indonesia. So to this BRICS one, Indonesia also has joined. Now, then there are so many other countries also applying to join. Right? So many other countries who actually want to join, but they are not really, they've not officially joined yet. Now, even Sri Lanka did. Sri Lanka also last year, we also applied to join this BRICS thing, but we actually got rejected. So I don't know what the criteria and all of it. It's a retails done there, but I know we also applied, but we got rejected. Then on yellow, what you see, Lamai, those are what you call the partner countries. They are not members, but they're like partners. They kind of work closely with these people. So the whole aim of BRICS is, Lamai, one big aim that they're actually talking about is it's a trading block thing. So within y'all and all, y'all will trade with less barriers and all. One thing that they have been talking about, it's I don't think will be easy, something called de-dollarization. But dollarization, de-dollarization. Now, the dollar is the world's reserve currency. The dollar is the world's reserve currency. So any international transactions, Lamai, takes place with US dollars. Now, US is not a part of BRICS, Lamai. So what the BRICS is trying to do is they're trying to come up with a new currency that will be the world's reserve currency. Instead of the dollar, they're trying to put US out and come up with a currency. They have not come up with it yet, right? That is what they're talking about, de-dollarization. They're trying to come up with a currency there. So you can even just Google a little and see Lamai, de-dollarization, all of it. There are so much of talks about it, but it's not easy, Lamai. You can't just come up with another currency to throw out the US dollar, because US at the end of the day is the world's biggest economy. So it's not easy to, kick one fellow out like that and come there. But ideally, with these Trump's tariffs and all of that coming into play, these fellows are getting a little bit more stronger now. They have seen the need for, US can't come and bully us all the time. We have to become strong. So they are getting a little stronger and stronger. Just roughly have that in mind. Sri Lanka applied to become a member. We were rejected. The newest member is whom? Indonesia. When did they join? This year in 2025. What is de-dollarization? De-dollarization is where dollar is the world's reserve currency. You're trying to get rid of that and let's say come up with something else. So just a little bit of general knowledge. Maybe can even become a question in your general knowledge paper instead of your economy. Okay, then coming back to this line, which one is the answer here? Now, this you don't give Indonesia here, this is 2025. So which one can you give? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa could be answer number 4. So these are the members that were there. And these are the first 4 initial people. South Africa joined 1 year later in 2010. Right. Then that is done. Go in the next one. Which of the following provinces has the highest poverty headcount index at present? Now, this time I told you, this poverty ratio, poverty survey happens. Now, there was one that happened in 2012. There was one that happened in 2016. Then there is one that happened in 2019. Now, in your latest papers, they ask you based on the 2019 survey. But even the 19 survey right now, is a little bit old. Right? So now that's why they're doing a new survey. So I don't think a poverty exact question will come, but it can come. Huh? Okay. So then highest poverty headcount in terms of provinces. I put a small screenshot here. So look at this. Look at the updated poverty line. Look at the headcount. So if you take in Sri Lanka, in 2019, our poverty headcount ratio is 14.3%. That means from our total population, 14.3% of people are below that national poverty line. I told you that 16,000 right now. So at that time, it was lesser, but it's lesser than people are earning less than that. So then that's the total poverty headcount ratio. But if you divide it as urban, rural, estate, that breakdown is there. If you divide it by the provinces, you have. So which province has the highest level? Based on the latest what we have. Western, Central, Southern, Northern, Eastern. Where is the percentage the highest? The percentage is the highest in Uva, right? So Uva has 28.3% of people in power. So your answer for that question then right now would have been Uva. If they ask you, Lamai, the province with the lowest poverty headcount, which province has the lowest? Lowest is the Western province, only 5.7%. Right. So going back to my MCQ, the question asked us the province with the highest poverty headcount. So at present, we don't know, but this is based on the 2019 one. It has to be U. Now, most likely, there will be a new survey. I feel that will come out around next year. Now, right now, they're doing the survey. So they will analyze the data and all. By next year, they will come up with this. Okay, then 2013. A small work call as well. Right. Yes. Okay, so we'll do 2030. Now we have a small work call to attend, and then I'll give you a small break, and then we move to the next. Some of the demographic data for country X is given below. They're asking for unemployment rate and the labor force participation rate. So how do you find unemployment rate? Number of people unemployed divided by your labor force. So your labor force is employed plus unemployed. There is 90 in your labor force. From that, 9 are unemployed. Your unemployed rate is how much now? Like you have 10%. Yeah. In that table there, Uber might not have the highest population who in poverty. This is the percentage. So from their population, 29% are in poverty here. Not the number, the percentage is what you look at. Then labor force participation rate. So from your total population, that is 180. Population 10 years and over, that is your, this one, that is your working age. So from your working age population, how many are in the labor force? There are 90 people in your labor force. So how much is that, Lamai, as a percentage? That is a 60%. So 10% Unemployment, 60% labor force participation. So answer number one. Then this one, and I'll give you a small break. In a given economy, both employment and unemployment rose over a period of 10 years. This must have been produced by an increase in what? Birth rate, economically active, lamai. How come in this your employment and unemployment both increase? Right now, let's say employment there is 9, unemployed there is 3. Let's say both of it is increasing 10 and 4. That means what has increased? This one has increased, right? If you're both employed and unemployed are both increasing, it's a sign that your labor force is increasing. What's another name for your labor force? What population? Your economically active population. So what could have happened is there could have been an increase in your economically active population. Right? So answer there is number 2. Okay. I'll give you all a small breakdown because today is a working day. I have a small work call to attend to. I will give you all how much of a break do you want. I'll give you all 12-minute break. Okay, we'll finish by around 10. That's my normal time. So it's 8:23. I'll give you a break until 8:35 a.m. And then we'll do the rest of the questions. Quickly take a small break. Have your morning tea and okay. So we'll get started, guys, with the next part of this. Coming into the 2014 A-level paper. Slide that I wrote the percentages. Which percentages is this? Okay. So 2014 A-levels 45. The question says, which of the following can be considered unemployed? Who is unemployed, Lama? Unemployed is a person who is looking for work but doesn't have a job. Now, for example, they can't call you unemployed. Yes, you don't have a job, but you're not looking for work. Someone looking for work but don't have a job is whom you call unemployed. So look at the answers and tell me which one. An individual employed in the private sector as a clerk, that is what, Lama? That is underemployment. After graduating, if you're employed as a clerk, right? Let's say photocopying paper and all, that's called underemployed. Not this. Individual who quits his job in order to look after parents, no, he's not unemployed. Individual who quits his job for higher education, no. A woman who stayed at home to look after her children, but seeking employment now. Is that unemployed? There was a lady who was stopped looking for work because she wanted to look after her children, but now she is looking for work. So if she's looking for work now, she is unemployed. A school student who does not work at his family farm during exam, no, that is not unemployed. So 45 number. Then going into 46. The major change in the labor force participation rate of Sri Lanka in recent years is. Now that is something like product 10 years old now, right? But what do you think? The increase in the labor force, female labor force participation rate, a decrease in the labor force participation rate, an increase in male labor force participation, decrease in female employment, significant increase in male unemployment. Something we are seeing right now also is now we are seeing what? More and more females coming into the labor force. So I feel it could have been number one. Can someone just recheck the answers also? This is something 10 years ago, Lamai, so you don't have to know exactly what happened at that point. More and more females entering the labor force. It says 2. A decrease in labor force could be there. So maybe if in those years, if you're seeing that the labor force participation is going down, then that could be the answer. But remember, maybe if this question comes right now, again, I don't think labor force participation is coming down. Male labor force has always been at that same kind of levels. Right now, maybe it could have been number one, Lamai. So they're asking you in recent years means they're talking about 2012, 2013. So what happened there, you don't have to know now. But now maybe even this one could be this answer. The female labor force participation rate is actually increasing. Then 2014, 48. Accurate statement about the economic growth rate, unemployment rate, and inflation rate in 2012. 2012, we don't have to know. But can you give me some numbers, Lamai, 2024? There's a question, do I have any kids? No. Is there a question because today is Children's Day? I don't have kids yet. I just got married last year. Economic growth rate, Lamai, how much is Sri Lanka's economic growth rate? If you want to give 2024 numbers, Sri Lanka's economic growth rate is at 5%. How much is our unemployment rate in 2024? A 4.4%. How much is our average inflation rate, Lamai, in 2024? No, not average inflation 2024 is no minus. No, is it minus? Average inflation was a 1.2, was it? I remember somewhere around that line, Tamai. A second, let's check for inflation. So average inflation. No, it was there in the start. Hold on, give me a second. I'll find and let you know. Inflation rate. No, by the end of 2024 is where it was minus 1.7. The average inflation. Can't find it right now. It should be there in your tube somewhere. It should have been there. If anyone remembers the number, is it 1.2? Yeah, okay. So average inflation rate for the entire year of 2024 is a 1.2%. So that is 2024, some latest data that you can have. Okay, right. So with that, that part is done. Then going to the next one. 2014, 49. Again, a bit of a, this one, no, plus 1 point. The recent policy decision of Sri Lankan government to minimize the negative impact. Usually, if they ask the inflation for an entire year, better give average inflation for that year. To minimize the negative impact of outward migration of unskilled female workers. Again, Namai, a thing relevant for that year. What do you think, though? What did the government do in order to minimize the negative impact of outward migration of unskilled female workers to the Middle East? Like so much of female workers, Lamai, who go to the Middle East, but sometimes they get exploited. Some people, scam these people and send. So what do you think the government have done for this? Which one is the answer? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because that's something you can find out. Even something 10 years ago, I also don't have exactly what would have happened. But this is Lamai, a current context for that year. So it won't be relevant for this year. Don't worry too much about it. Okay, I'm leaving it. You find the answer. Then 2015. 15 is saying, in a hypothetical economy, if the number of people classified as unemployed is 50,000 and employed is 450,000, what is your unemployment rate? Easy, no? Unemployment rate is number of people who are unemployed over your labor force into 100. So there are 50,000 people unemployed. How much is your labor force number? They haven't given labor force, but labor force is the addition of employed and unemployed. So 50,000 plus 450, that is 500,000. So out of 500,000 people, there are 50,000 who don't have jobs. As a percentage, how much is that? That is a 10%. Easy question, a free mark in your paper. Then 2015, 50. The tremendous increase in imports and exports that occurred globally over the last few decades has been primarily caused by. Now, this is even relevant maybe now, Lamai. You can talk about something like globalization. Why do you think they're talking about decades? No? In the last 20, 30 years, why do you think there have been so much of global trade? Because of the removal of non-tariff barriers, because of the increased interest in protectionism, because of the rapidly declining transportation and communication cost, because of the decrease in wages in developing countries, because of shifts in political authority. Which one do you think is the main reason out of all of this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I feel 3 could be a better answer, right? The declining in transportation cost and communication cost. Removal of non-tariff barriers, Lamai, how do you know that? So non-tariff barriers are like these quotas, embargoes, and all of it. I don't think much of it has been removed. Whatever that is there is idly still there, Lamai. They haven't removed a lot. Even now, US is putting new barriers or the new tariff barriers. So answer number 3. Then, no, just because you remove non-tariff barriers, you won't have free trade. To have free trade, you have to remove your tariff barriers also. You remove all your tariffs, all your non-tariff. Yes, it will lead to free trade, but they're asking you for a reason why it actually happened. They're asking for an actual reason. So removal of non-tariff barriers didn't really actually happen. Okay. Then 2016. 16 is saying, as factories became automated, traditional workers find themselves with mismatched skills, and some of them became unemployed. At that same time, computer operators are in high demand. This type of unemployment is called what? What is this called, Lamai? This is called structural unemployment. So what is structural unemployment, Lamai? That is when the structure of how you do things change. Usually, let's say, for example, with like a technological advancement, if something like that happens, and then some people become unemployed because now you're doing things differently. If the structure of how you do things change, then that will lead to structural unemployment. So you mainly with these technological developments and all of it, what will happen? The way that you do things will start changing. Then some people will no longer be required yet. So that's structural. Then just to go through the others quickly, Lamai, what is cyclical unemployment? Cyclical unemployment is when the economy heads towards a recession. Remember, in the business cycle, when you're going down in a recession, we say Lamai, unemployment is increasing. That is what you call cyclical unemployment. Then what is frictional unemployment? Frictional unemployment is when people quit jobs to find another job. So for example, if I stop teaching after your batch, and let's say I want to now find another job. Right? So then until I find another job for around 1 or 2 months, I will be unemployed. So that is what you call frictional unemployment. And remember, having frictional unemployment is actually good, because that is a sign that people don't quit a job to get a bad job. People always quit a job if that is very stressful, or if they are not earning from that much, always to find a better job, to find a job that they will be more happy about, maybe in terms of money, maybe in terms of stress. So that. So having some levels of friction and unemployment is actually good for a country. Yes, people are quitting jobs always to find a better job. So that's frictional unemployment. When you quit jobs to find another. Or maybe even if you move, let's say, for example, if you move from one country to another country, then also temporarily you're frictionally unemployed. So you have stopped working in Sri Lanka. Now you have migrated to Australia. I mean, Australia is looking for a job. So frictional unemployed. When you stop one job and you're looking for another. Then what is natural unemployment? Natural rate of unemployment is the addition of, that is the amount of unemployment that will always be there in a country. That is something you should not worry about. One is frictional. Government can't worry about frictional unemployment. Government can't stop people quitting a job to find another job. That will always be there. Naturally, it will be there. Plus, structure. There will always be technological advancements. There will be, new things coming up. So, way that things get done will start changing. So, there will be structural unemployment as well. So I think one thing that has happened with this in the tuition class industry, what I can give you is a lot of tuition class teachers with online teaching coming in with COVID, a lot of people actually, people who are doing these classes in physical institutes, especially the old people, the old teachers, right, who are, let's say, 50 years, 60 years, who are doing at physical institutes, with COVID coming in, most of them stopped because they were not able to adapt to the technology, Zoom, using a camera and doing on a laptop. They were not able to adapt. That's the structure of how things were done changed. They became unemployed. That is structural unemployment. So those things now will always be there in economy. That's structural frictional thing. That's what you call the natural rate of unemployment. And then what is disguised unemployment? No, naturally it's not just frictional. Frictional plus structural together is natural. Okay. Then what is disguised unemployment now? And disguised unemployment is where now let's say for example, remember I told you in the Sri Lankan Transport Board, for one bus, they have 4 employees. Now, you don't need 4 employees for one bus. For one bus, you only need the driver and the conductor. You only need 2 people. So until these 2 fellows go on a ride and come, the other 2 are just sitting in the bus depot and having fun. They have jobs, but they are not really contributing. That's called disguised unemployment. You have a job, but you're not really contributing kind of a thing. It's not really contributing. Okay. By 4 people, it's a government has given jobs now so that they can also earn an income. Okay, so that's the story there. Done. Then going to the next one, 2016, 46. Total dependency ratio. We did this before now. Quickly give me an answer. Your total dependence is your non-working age population as a percentage of your working age population. Which one? Lama, it's not employed or unemployed, Lama. There is, how are you giving me 2? Dependency is your non-working age. That is your small children and old people as a percentage of your working age population. So answer is number 5. Population 15 years and above and below 15 and above 59. That is the old people as a percentage of your working age. So that can be your answer. 16, number 5. 46, number 5. Then, which of the following correctly indicates the contribution of agriculture sector to Sri Lanka's employment in 2014? Now, 2014, we don't have to know, Lama. So I'll give you some latest numbers here from 2024. So in 2024, our agriculture sector, Lama, contributed to around 7.5% of our GDP. In 2023, it was 7.8%. So even though GDP contribution is only 7.5%, the number of people employed in the agriculture sector is around 25%. And you see, Lama, there is a bit of a productivity issue here. From the total labor force. So I told you we have close to around 8 million people. So 7.9 million in the labor force. So employed 7.9, but total labor force is around 8. From this 7.9 million Sri Lankans who are employed, 25% are in the agriculture sector. So even though 25% are employed in the agricultural sector, the agriculture sector is only contributing 7.5% to the country's GDP. So there is a bit of a productivity issue. But if you look at, for example, the service sector, 48% are employed, but the service sector contributes to around close to 60% of the country's GDP. So it's a bit more productive than the agriculture. So here, for that MCQ, if you are giving the latest answers, 2024 it will be 7.5%, employment will be 25.7. So coming back to the question, GDP contribution is a 7.5%. This is a 25.7%. So probably now, this is 2024, now 2016 is 8 years ago then. I feel the most closest answer could have been either 4 or 5. Which one is the answer they've given in the marking? Somewhere close to that would have been an answer. 2016. Okay, don't worry about the answer at that point. Remember the numbers for now. Then 2017, again, an easy one. They've given some information. They're asking you for labor force participation rate. How do you find labor force participation rate? Out of your working age population, how many are in the labor force? How many are participating? Working age population, they have told me, is 25 million. how much is my labor force? They are saying there are 3 million unemployed people, 80% employed. Then how much is my unemployment rate, Lama? If my employment rate is 80%, my unemployment rate is a 20%. So 20% represents 3 people. Then this 80% will represent how many people? You can work in this in multiple ways. If 20% represents 3 people, 3 million, 80% will represent 12 people. So in total, that is your labor force, right? Number of people employed plus number of people unemployed. So 20% are unemployed, that is 3. If you want, you divide it by 100, divided by 20, multiplied by 100. So you get 15 million in your labor force. So you just have to work a little bit with the numbers. So 15 million in the labor force, 25 in the working age population. How much is the labor force participation rate? How much do you get? You get a 60%. So answer number 5. Then 2017 question 48. So this is again based on an old survey line. They're asking you based on the 2012-13 survey, 3 districts with the highest poverty headcount. So I'll show you the latest 2019 survey. So based on the 2019 survey, look at this headcount updated poverty line. Look at the percentages. Right? Look at this column. Focus on this column. So in that column, which column has the highest poverty headcount? Which districts? Give me the top 3. We have jotted these in our tunes. Which one are the top 3, Lamai? Mullatif is number 1. So if you look at Mullatif, they have 44.5% in poverty. Then who is number 2? Badulla looks like being number 2. Okay, no, Badulla is higher. So Badulla is number 2 with 32.3% in poverty. Who is number 3? Highest poverty. Then you have Kilinochi in number 3, 26.4%. So this will be the answer, Amma, if they ask you based on the 2019 survey. But I'm telling you now, even the 19 survey is a little old. So because of that, I doubt if they will give you this question this year though. But good for you all to know. But let's say someone doesn't know at all, I will say don't stress too much about it. Probably when the new survey comes, definitely that year there will be a question. That year there will be a question. But this year I feel still the survey is not out yet. No, I don't think it will be a question. Then coming to our answer. So you can give Lamai, Mullatif, Badulla and Kilinochi as your answer. Not sure if you have the same answer here, but based on that 2019 survey, it is Mullatif, Badulla and Kilinochi. Then 2017, there is 49. They're saying, despite the reduction in absolute poverty, significant income inequalities. Uva is the province, Lama. These are districts. Don't confuse provinces and districts. Despite the reduction in absolute poverty in Sri Lanka, significant income inequalities continue to persist. This is confirmed by the percentage of total household income held by the richest 10%. How much of income do you think, Lama, Sri Lanka's richest 10% have? Remember in that income distribution, we learned on Monday. How much do you think the actual number is? The richest 10%. Now here I'm going to give you some logical sense also. So richest 10% here, the top 10%. 10%, 57%, I feel is too much, Lamai. So that means the bottom 90% has only around how much? 42%. I think 57 is a little too much. Okay. And then these two answers are also gone, Lamai. top 10% are the richest 10%, or top 10% can't have 10% of the income. That means it's very equal. So 10 and 14 also I will cut. Then I've narrowed it down to 3 and 4. Which one do you think is more realistic? The top 10%. This is also there in the 2019 poverty survey. Again, a little outdated for your level. The ideal answer is around 38%. So roughly have an idea. The top 10% in Sri Lanka have close to around a 38% of the total country's income. Can you tell me how much is the bottom 10%? They should be there in your tudes. Huh? I would have given you all these numbers. Bottom 10% has around how many percent of the country's income? Check the somewhere in some tute, I would have given you all this numbers. Either in the theory tute, fast track, or somewhere it is there. When we talked about this Gini coefficient and all of that. The bottom 10%, if I'm not mistaken, has around 1.8%, if I'm not mistaken. Like you can check that number. I'm also not exactly sure, but I remember something like that. Around 1.8% of the country's income. Right, that's 2017. Question, last one, 50. Which the following is not a major obstacle to attract FDIs? Now here, Lama, use a bit of common sense. Which one do you think is not an obstacle to attract foreign investments to the country? 1. Unstable macroeconomic conditions. Can that be obstacle? Logically think, Lama, can that be obstacle? Our macroeconomy, inflation rate, exchange rate is very unstable. That can be obstacle. If that happens, yes. Labor market rigidity. Rigidity means very tight, very strict rules and all. Can that be an obstacle? Yes. So if there is very hard labor rules and all, that can be an obstacle. Uncertainty in policies. Government is today coming and saying they are banning this one. Tomorrow they are saying, we are putting a tax like this. If they keep on changing their policies, can that be an obstacle? Yes. Lack of diversification in the export sector. Is that an obstacle, Lamai, for foreign investments? Now, yes, our exports are not diversified. We are mainly focusing on garments, then tea and stuff are there, right? But is that an obstacle for foreign investments to come to your country? Not really, right? That is not the obstacle. Then corruption, definitely corruption is an obstacle. So which one is not? Number 4. Logically think and argue and get your answer. So answer there. Previous one was 4. And this one is also number 4. Then going into 2018. Sustainable Development Goal 1 is about poverty. What is the aim of this goal? To cut poverty by half, to end poverty in all forms, to reduce poverty by 75%, end hunger and ensure access by all people to sufficient food, to help each country make progress on reducing poverty. Which one is the goal, Lami? The goal is called no poverty. Sustainable Development Goal 1. So that is Lama number 2. It's to end poverty in all forms by 2030. To completely eradicate poverty. So every country will aim to get there, but I don't think everyone will be able to. But they have the goal to get to that point. Then 2018, 49. Like easy one. They're asking for total dependency ratio. So how do you get your dependency ratio, Lama? That is your dependence, non-working age, divided by your working age into 100. So you have 6 million small children, 4 million old people. So you have total dependence of 10 million. Okay. Total dependence of 10 million. Your working age population is this 20 million. So how much is your dependency ratio? There are 10 million people depending on 20 million people. That means there is a 50% dependency ratio. Easy question. Then 2019. 19 is saying 44. According to the household income survey, this is in 2016. Again, old one. Poverty headcount index for urban rural sectors. So here we'll go with the latest one. So based on urban, rural, and estate lamai. Here, these are the numbers. The one that I'm highlighting, the black box. Urban is 6%, rural is 15%, estate is a 33.8. So highest poverty is in the estate sectors. So this is the sector. Earlier they asked for province. Another year they asked for district. So they can ask for anything. So you can write these numbers, Lamai. 6, 15, and 33.8. This is a 2019 survey. That question, Lamai, is from the 2016 survey. 16 survey now is outdated. So don't worry. Okay. How much are the numbers again? Urban. Can someone tell me? I forgot the numbers. Urban was 6. Rural was 15. No? 6 and 15. Estate was 33.8. So rural, urban, estate. So you might not have an answer in this question. Then 2019, 48. The table below shows employment data for a hypothetical economy. Don't memorize Lama. If you broadly have an idea when we did it in theory, it should be okay. That's fine. Sorry, not urban, rural, estate. Okay. Okay. So in which year is the rate of unemployment 20% and the labor force participation rate 60%? So then now for everything you're put the calculator and see it. So year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll find until we get an answer. The unemployment rate and your labor force participation rate. Okay. So we'll first go with the unemployment rate. Unemployment 20, labor force 60. So number of people unemployed 3. Your labor force is 3 plus 12. So 3 over 15, Lama, do you get 20% in the first one? Unemployment rate? Yeah. Okay. So you get 20%. So then we'll just calculate labor force also and see. Labor force participation. There are 15 million people in your labor force. Your working age population is 25 million. Do you get 60? Yes. So then that can be your answer. So I will stop calculating there. You can calculate for the others and also see 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see. So which answer will give you 20% as unemployment and 60% as LFPR is answer number year 1. Stopping there. Then 2019, 50. The top 3 sectors that contributed to foreign exchange earnings in Sri Lanka in recent years. What are the 3 sectors? Textile and garments and tourism, employment remittances, textile garments, petroleum. Which one do you think are the top ones? He can't be number 1, Lamai. Okay, roughly if I'm to give you numbers, Lamai, can you all tell me? This is inflows in US dollars. Total Sri Lanka's exports in the form of US dollars is roughly around how much? 2023-24. Total exports in US dollars is around, Lamai, roughly, it has come up a bit. It's roughly around 13 billion. So our total exports are around 13 billion. So from this, our main exports, Lamai, we have garments, we have rubber and stuff, right? So we have tea, we have petroleum products, we have rubber, we have those. Okay. Tourism, Lamai, tell me roughly around how much have we got for a year? Tourism, roughly around, Lamai. Now, tourism actually varies though. Okay. Petroleum products exports is what we talk about, the re-export story. We covered that multiple times. Okay. So tourism, Lamai, this year it can come close to 4 billion, but we are looking for past data now. So past data, Lamai, is mostly around that 2 to 3 billion kind of mark. In 2018-19 තමයි ළමයි tourism peaked. Actually in 18. 18 is like the best year for Sri Lankan tourism. So, and then worker remittances is around how much now? Billion. This year it will go past 7 billion, my forecast. But so far, it has been roughly in that lamai around a 6 billion kind of mark. These are rough numbers, are not exact numbers. I'm just giving you to show which one is bigger. Then, if I am to break down and give lamai imports, how much is our imports? Number changes from different things. It's roughly around 18 to 20 billion. Now, this year it will be even higher than 20. Right? So, imports are roughly recent years has been around 18 to 20, somewhere around that. Okay. Then garments is lamai around how many percent of our total exports? From our total exports, garments are around close to around 50%, right? So around the 6 billion are around lamai garments. Again, rough numbers. Then you have tea, petroleum. These are not big numbers. Numbers are there lamai in your tubes. In your tube lamai, check that there is like a bar chart that is going. In that bar chart, if you draw the line down, you can get the number. You might not get the exact number. I would have shown you all this in the, in this, it would have been there. In the class where I taught you all focus area 30, I think. Yeah, make it. Here. So imports, sorry, exports. Here, 2024. 24 is this one. Sorry, textile and garments, not 6 lemma, make it around 5. Textile and garments is around 5 billion. Then you have tea. Tea is around how much? Maybe like 1.2, 1.3 billion. Then you have petroleum, that is around 1 billion. Then you have rubber, which is a little less than 1. So 5 billion of textile garments. So 2024 exports are 12.8 billion. Textile garments are 5. Tea is around 1.2, 1.3. Petroleum is around 1. Petroleum, these are re-exports. We import petroleum, we store it in our harbors and keep, and we re-export. So when you re-export, it will get counted as a Sri Lankan export. That's why petroleum is so big. And then rubber is a little less than 1. So you can jot those points down. Coming back to this. So this is around a 5 billion. Tea is around a 1.2-ish maybe. Petroleum around the 1 billion. Rubber, let's say less than 1. Let's say 0.8 to 0.9 billion. That's the just in terms of inflow. So based on these all, Salama, which one do you think is the bigger one? Which one do you think is the answer here? The one that gives the biggest. I feel could be number 5. Remittances gives you around 6 billion. Textile and garments around 5 billion. Tourism is also giving around 2 to 3 billion. Could be this. Tea is actually small. Petroleum is small. Rubber is small. So you can exclude the previous answers. Then 2020, 47. Under which type of unemployment does the marginal productivity of a worker is 0 or close to 0? Well, I told you, marginal productivity means his additional contribution. I gave you an example of the SLTB bus. I told you 4 employees are there for 1 bus, 2 people are just sitting and waiting. Productivity means bindu. In what? In disguised unemployment. When you have a job, but you really don't do anything. This is like, for example, now have you all had these group projects in school? I gave the example. In school, you all do group projects. There's always that one fellow who does nothing. On the final day, he shows up and his name is also there in the cover page done by. That is like that guy. Disguised unemployed. Right? He's there. I hope that you're not that person. He is there in the team, but he doesn't contribute at all. That is, this guy's unemployed. Okay, done. Then the next one, 2020, 49. Correctly indicating Sri Lanka's GDP composition 2080. We'll just give the involuntary unemployment. You're purposefully, you're not going to work. Right? Sorry, not involved, that is voluntary. So involuntary unemployment, there is no main type of that. Involuntary is you want a job within, but you can't find a job. Involuntary means not purposefully, you're just unemployed. You're trying to find a job, but you just can't find. Okay. Not a main type. So 2024, Lama, can you give me the numbers? Agriculture, industry, and service. In this one here, I put it. So agriculture is 7.5. Industry is 26.7. And service is 59.2. Write the 2023 numbers down as well. In 2023, agriculture is 7.8. Industry is 25.3. Service is actually 60%. So services contribution has actually come down, no, from 23 to 24. 60% has come down to 59.2. 60.7 to 59.2. The industrial sector is what that has actually gone up. From 23 to 24, agriculture and service have both come down. Industrial has. So just have those numbers in mind. Now that's this thing. But remember, Lamai, right now I feel the examiner will not ask you, Lamai, exact definite statistics. Now these are still 2020 paper. In the recent years, Lamai, last 1 or 2 years, the examiner has explicitly told he doesn't want students to memorize and write the exam. Right? He doesn't want anyone to memorize and write the paper. So these statistics, Lamai, now, if you ask me, if someone comes and asks me, Arshad, what is Sri Lanka's, this one for this something, I might not know the exact number, Lamai, but I know where to look for it. I know, okay, central bank report, this number is there. So you don't have to memorize, Lamai. They are not testing your memory power. So the amount of, asking this exact statistics, exact is now a little less. I'm not saying that they will completely not do that. But if you look at now, this 2020, still 5 years ago. But if you look at in the recent papers, 2023, 24, not exactly asking how much is this, how much is that, that kind of question is very rare, because the examiner now doesn't really want to test your memory power, because that should not be the thing, so it doesn't have to be memory power. So in terms of your A levels, good for you to know 2023, 2024 numbers both. For essay questions, you can give all the numbers and you can explain the story. Right. Then 2021. The table below shows the income shares by quantiles of income receivers. This is actually from income distribution. 24 Central Bank report, exact numbers, very rare they will ask like that. Then they're asking you, according to the table below, what can you conclude? This is actually from the previous focus area. But always I told you, look at the first quantile and the last quantile. So quantile here 20%. So the poorest 20%, in 2010, they got around 5% of the income. But now they are getting only 4% of the income. The richest 20%, earlier they got 45, now they are getting 50. So what has happened, Lama? Has the income distribution become more equal or unequal? Poor fellows' share has gone down. 5 has become 4. Rich fellows' share has gone up. It has become more unequal. So which one is your answer? There has been an improvement in resource allocation. You don't know. The distribution of income has become unequal. Yes. Distribution of wealth. No, Lama. Remember, Lama, this is income share, right? Based on income, Lama, please don't go and talk about wealth. Wealth is different. Income is different. We spoke of it on Monday. So not that. Economic conditions of the low income receivers have improved. We don't know. There has been a decline in productivity of low income earners. That also we don't know. So all of this we can't conclude. But what we can conclude is number 2. Previous one, there is no answer. That is based on the 24 number you are to give. Then 2021, 46. Some of the typewriter operators without computer skills lost their jobs as computers started to dominate. What is this? We talked about this before as well. technology advancing, the structure of how you do things are changing. That is what type of unemployment? That is structural unemployment. Good. Then 2021, 48. The table below summarizes the labor market situation in a hypothetical economy. Which of the following is true? Now see, they've made the questions more tricky now. You have to do much more things to get your answer. Where earlier they gave very direct Baba type questions. Now you have to, go one by one and see. So we'll go one by one and see. Rate of unemployment has increased. Rate of unemployment has decreased. 1 and 2. We'll see. We will calculate the unemployment rate. So unemployment rate is number of people who are unemployed. That is 6 over your labor force. Labor force is this plus this. That is 6 over 30. So 6 over 30 into 100 lamai. That is what you call. That's a 20%. How much is your rate of unemployment? Now, 8 people are unemployed out of how many people? Out of 40 people. So 8 over 40 into 100. That is also 20%. So then can you lamai say 1 and 2 both? Both are wrong. Rate of unemployment is unchanged. Cyclical unemployment, once again, that is in the business cycle. Remember, in the business cycle, when the economy goes towards a recession, you say unemployment increases. That is called cyclical unemployment. Okay. Then the labor force participation rate has increased. That will calculate and see. Labor force you have to get. So in 2018, there were 30 people in the labor force out of working age 50. So that is a 60%. Okay. In 2020, there were 40 people in the labor force out of 60 people. Then that is a 66.67, right? If you round it off, you get to 60. So that can be our answer then. Labor force participation rate has increased from 60 to 67. We calculated, we saw that. Then 4 says labor force participation has decreased. No. Although the population has grown, labor force has remained constant. Population grown or not, we don't know. Labor force has remained constant. That is also wrong. Answer 3. Not hard. It's just that it's not as direct as the previous questions you would have got. Then 2022. Again, Lama, this is from the latest, this one. So latest one, how much is our poverty headcount, Lama? And the district with the highest poverty. So poverty headcount is 14.3%. What is the district with the highest poverty? District taker. So this was Mulativ. Mulativ was the highest and it was a 14. So then which one is your answer? 14.3 and Mulativ. Answer number 3. Then 2022, 49. Easy one. How do you calculate labor force participation rate? It's your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your labor force divided by your working age population into 100. There is no direct answer. But labor force is the addition of what and what? Labor force is the addition of employed and unemployed. So your employed plus unemployed is your labor force. As a percentage of your working age population into 100 is your labor force participation rate. So that is 49. Then 2023. The World Bank currently uses the international poverty line for low-income countries as how much? $1 a day, 1.75, 2.15. They changed this a bit line. So right now, it's 2.15. So if now this is the world standard. Remember I told you the Sri Lankan official poverty line. For a month, you have to earn 16,000 odd kila. Now this is in the world for a day though, not for a month. So for a day, if you're at a level less than $2.15, then you're considering poverty. That's how you find the global poverty rates. Then 2023, 46. The table below shows some data for a hypothetical economy. They're asking what has happened to the rate of employment and the labor force participation rate. Okay, we'll try to calculate. So here, can you all tell me from the labor force, if 3 people are unemployed, how many people are employed? From the 15 people, if 3 are unemployed, 12 are employed. Okay. From the 20 people, if 4 are unemployed, how many are employed? 16 are employed. Okay. So we'll quickly calculate our employment rates. In year 1, number of people employed 12 million, over your labor force 15 million. So 12 over 15 into 100, you get around 80%. Then for year 2, there are 16 people who are employed out of 20. That is also then 80%. So your rate of employment lamai has remained unchanged. Not really changed. What has happened to your labor force participation rate? So labor force participation lamai, this is the addition of labor force divided by your working age. So here it is 15 over 25. So 15 over 25 into 100 is a 60%. In year 2, it is 24 out of 30. Sorry, 24, no, wait, 20. 20 out of 30. That is a 66.666, round off to 67. So labor force participation has increased. Rate of employment hasn't really changed. So which one is the answer then? Number 1, 2, 3. Number 3, no? So this, and that. Then 2023, 49. Now this is a current context, which, people were talking about at that point. The Paris Club primarily deals with the restructuring of what? Remember when I taught you all debt restructuring, I'm not going into too much in detail now. When I taught you all debt restructuring, I told you, debt restructuring is where you negotiate with your creditors. But then it's not easy in Lama to negotiate with every single creditor. So therefore, there is a group of countries that have got together and form like a club. So it's easier for you to negotiate and get your debt restructured. So which one talks about this, Lama? The Paris Club deals with restructuring of medium and long-term debt held by private creditors, including commercial banks, medium and long-term debt of developing countries, borrowed from developed countries, medium and long-term debt issued by a member country to a sovereign borrower, public debt and short-term maturity, public debt owed to multilateral financial institutions. Which one do you think? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sovereign credit rating is your credit rating level. But S&P, Moody's, and all of them give. Which one can be the answer? I'll cut off the obvious answers. So I'll cut off my number 4. It's not just short-term debt. It's not multilateral debt. You're left with 1, 2, and 3. Which one? Is it the medium and long-term debt held by private creditors, including commercial banks? No, it's not your commercial bank. You're left with 2 and 3. Which one? Is it the medium and long-term debt of developing countries borrowed from developed countries? Or is it the medium and long-term public debt issued by a member country, a member from the Paris Club, to a sovereign borrower? Sovereign borrower is another country. Which one? It's ideally should be number 3. So it's the long-term debt issued by a member country, issued by one of these members in the Paris Club to another sovereign borrower. Another sovereign borrower can be, for example, Sri Lanka. So that can be our better answer. Okay. Then 23 is done. There is one more. The 3 key state-owned enterprises that have been identified for restructuring. Who are the fellows, Tama, who always make losses? They are the fellows you have to restructure, change things, and privatize, change different things. Who are the key fellows? No, Sri Lanka is on the Paris Club. The key loss-making fellows are the ones you have to restructure and change things. Petroleum, Satosa and Telecom, Petroleum Corporation, Electricity Board and the Sri Lankan Airlines, Road Development Authority, Milco, Lanka Phosphate, Sri Lankan Airlines, Ceylon Electricity, Ports Authority, Transport Board. The main loss-making fellows are these guys. So these are the guys, they had to restructure. Now, do you all know this? This is, I don't know if it'll come up in your paper, but very recently, the Electricity Board, now they have split it. into, if I'm not mistaken, around 4 components. They have split the, now electricity board is one big one. Now they have split it into around 4 different small components. So that is to make it easier to manage. Because if you take electricity itself, that's a big part. No? The generation part, the transmission part, the distribution, distributing houses. So there is so much of things. This is not Milo, this is Milko. Milko is the Highland. Right. That's 2023. Then go into the next one, the latest paper. Now, this question, there was actually a mistake now. The old age dependency rate. So, old age is not your total dependence. So, old age is these are your old people only divided by your working age population into 100. So, which one talks about that? Individuals age 65 and above to the working age population, that is correct. Above 65, all people as a percentage of your working age population. Individuals age 60 and above to the total population, no. Individual age 60 and above, these are the old people, to the population age 15 to 59, that is the working age. That is also correct. And then individuals age 0 to 40, no, that is small children. No. So they gave you answers, marks for both of these questions. 1 and 3 are both equally correct. So it's your old people as a percentage of your working age population. So answer 1 and 3 both talk about that. So in the 24 paper, you all will see, in question 46, marks were given for 1 and 3 both. Then 2024, 48. What is the significance of the Colombo Port City project? So again, a bit of a current context. So you all know this port city, they're developing in all of it. Why are they doing this? What is the port city doing? Why significance means what's the importance? It's a major initiative to attract foreign investment and trade. No, City of Dreams, I don't think that's a private thing. Attract foreign investments and trade. It aims to develop a shipyard for container handling. It focuses on increasing domestic production. It focuses on creating jobs in the Colombo city. It prioritizes development in Sri Lanka's tourism over other industries. What do you think, Lama? What's the main point of this whole port city? It's to attract investments, right? You created an entire different city out there, inviting foreign firms, local firms, and all of it to come and, set up businesses there, expand. So there they have different rules. They have different tax rules. All of that is there. But it's not easy. So it's very slow progress that is being there. So answer there is number 1. Yeah, bit of a current context. Now, these type of questions will show up in your paper as well. So most of this, what will show up will ideally be different things that I would have talked about at different points in class. Exactly what will come, I also can't say. Okay, because I'm not setting your paper, no. But different things. What we talk about, in terms of, let's say, in class, even in the past paper class, when I talk about, I give you all a cartoon and product talk something, and it will show up. So somewhere we would have discussed, it might sometimes not be directly in your tudes level. So as economic students, you should be a little aware of what is happening. Okay, then the next one, 2 more questions and we are done. What is a major trigger for the economic crisis in 2022? What do you think is one of the main reasons? All of these could be reasons, but what is the main one? A decline in remittances from migrant workers, appreciation of the rupee, sharp increase in global oil prices, a decrease in the production of chemical fertilizer, and unsustainable accumulation of foreign debt. Which one? All of these could be reasons, Lamai. Which one do you think is the main reason? Why, if someone comes and asks you, why do you think Sri Lanka went into a crisis? Some of you all must be dreaming things also. One of the main reasons behind this was this, Lamai, the very high levels of foreign debt. So you had so much of foreign debt. At one point, you ran out of reserves that you don't even have money to repay this debt. So you try to repay as much as possible. You ran out of reserves. You saw the whole problem. That's one of the main reasons. But the decline in remittances also contributed. The global prices, oil prices increasing was a contributor. 2 and 4, no. But 1 and 3, did contribute. Then the last one, 2024, question 50. The IMF program is in 2023 is primarily aimed at. What does the IMF program is all about? It's about reducing the country's inflation below 5. It's about restoring macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability, transforming Sri Lanka towards a high income status, supporting a fixed exchange rate, privatizing the state-owned enterprise. So your whole IMF program that you're right now, Lama, is about what? What are they trying to do for you? They're trying to help you restore macroeconomic stability, keep your inflation stable, your unemployment stable, all of that, and make sure your debt is sustainable. So answer is number 2. Yes, the answer is, we would have, it would have been covered here and there in different questions. It would have been that. Okay, so with that, we are done with the 2024 paper. Could one be an answer? That's not the main thing, Lama. The primary aim is not just to bring inflation down. The primary aim is there is much more than just bringing inflation down. So there is a few screenshots here, and I'm not very sure why this is in black, but yeah. Okay, so with that, we are done with all the questions. Can you just add up and see how much did you get though? I don't know how many questions were there, 40, maybe around 40. There were some statistic questions that were there, which might have not been relevant, but roughly, at least if you have got, Lamai, around a 65 to 70% of the questions correct, you're at a pretty decent enough level. And again, what I will always tell you, Lamai, unit 11 and 12 are not difficult units. So you would have seen when we did these questions, Lamai, it's either directly something coming from your theory or they have a current context relevant for that year. So current context also, don't be worried, Lama. It will be an easy one. It's not that hard. That is that. So with that, we are done. The past paper class is done from today onwards. It was nice teaching all of you, and happy Children's Day as well. I don't meet you all physically, so there's nothing that I can actually give you. But on your end, we do have an MCQ program, Lama, commencing next week. Right now, close to around 300 students have joined. So slots are running out a little. The first set of MCQ books will most likely be couriered today. So for those who would have paid by yesterday, your set of books will be couriered today. So then within another 2-3 days, you all will be able to get. So next set of books will go most likely maybe tomorrow or day after, and all of it, the books will start going. So on your end, the earlier you pay, the earlier the MCQ books will be couriered, and then we can get it done. I am trying to come up with a very innovative leaderboard kind of a thing to make this whole MCQ program innovative. I spoke to my friend who helps me with the IT stuff. If I can do that, we'll have, so there'll be like a live leaderboard. So every time you do questions, you can update your answers. Then, you'll have a live leaderboard to see who and who have done well, who and who have, who is, done most of the questions, who has finished most of it, who has got most of it correct. So we'll have a leaderboard like that. So let's see how it goes. So that will start next week. I have put a tentative date as the 6th of October, but maybe the first live class might sometimes not happen on the 6th. Maybe I will plan out the schedule. The schedule will not be very hectic. That's one thing that I have decided, because I know the last month on your end itself, you all have a lot to study. So the live class schedule, I will not make it very hectic and, you have to come full days with me. The MCQ book, the answers are there at the back also. So on your own, you can do some difficult, interesting questions and all. Those are the ones that I will actually discuss in class. So your schedule will be pretty chilled so that you have time on your own to get a lot of work done. That's how the thing will happen. Then we'll have a final seminar that is at the end of October. Haven't finalized the dates or anything. That I will let you know at that point. Right. So with that, we are done. Dusted. Thank you for all of this. On my end, I will try my level best, Lamai, to add the recordings onto YouTube as soon as I can. See you. And once again, happy Children's Day. See you. Bye-bye.